totally disturbingly inappropriate, but that's how
Mhm.
people think. Oh, if she'll do that, why won't she do this?
Well,
You know? Yeah.
it's actually quite simple. It's because, I mean, as weird as the
Yeah.
Animorph thing was, they weren't hurting anyone. You know,
Right.
that's
Exactly.
that's exactly it. Furries aren't hurting anyone. They're just trying to be themselves and live their life. So I'm not going to judge it. But if somebody comes up to me and is going to ask for something illegal or stupid or bigoted that's going to hurt somebody, no, I'm absolutely not doing that. And that's really where my line is. Is it
Cool.
hurting somebody? No, I'll do it. Yes, you can shove off. You know,
Right.
it's a
Right.
pretty easy line to know
Oh, well,
where it
no,
is.
I'm glad it's easier for you, and that means that you do have some sort of a screening process. So
Of
for
course.
example, okay, let's get to something a little bit more normal. So
Okay.
if someone wanted to contact you for normal art and say, look, like we're a company, how would they go about doing that? Do they just go to
Mhm.
your Facebook page? Um,
Okay.
how would that work?
Well, I'm actually mostly on Telegram, Twitter, and Instagram as Hecate Nocturne or Hex, and anyone can reach me on any of those platforms. Like it's Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, any of those, and reach out to Hecate Nocturne. I will automatically reply to everybody. Um, I'll take everything into consideration. I take them seriously at the very beginning, and I also work with prices. So if somebody were to say, "Well, here's my budget," I give them a list of here's what I can do with that budget. You know, I can do most of my art hovers around $100 a piece for like a full piece. But if they want something hyper realistic detailed, it's going to jump up to about 150, 200. If they want something that's more generic or just a headshot or a reference sheet, then it drops down to about 50. You know, so I work with my clients, but the costume design side of it, obviously that's a little bit more pricey.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's get into that. So what do you do for
Mhm.
costume design? That's totally different from the digital art. Yeah.
I mean, it is and it isn't because it's in the same subcultures. So the same people I do art for are the same people that I design costumes for. So I make
Hmm.
fursuits, I make cosplay gear, I make gamer stuff. So if anyone wants to go to a con, a convention of literally any kind, Comic Con, um, furry cons, YouTube cons, literally anything, and they want a custom tailored costume to their specific specifications, especially if it's, for example, an original character or they've taken someone and tweaked it, then I'm the person that they come to. So, you know, that's the big difference that puts me above a lot of the other makers is I'm not a one size fits all kind of a person. I'm not a use really crappy materials for it. I go all out. I get the best material I physically can. Sew absolutely everything. I do not use a drop of hot glue. It's all sewing, either hand sewing or machine sewing. I custom fit it tailored to each individual, and I make each design specifically tailored to that client. So I take what they want, I make it a reality to fit their specific body.
Hmm. Hmm. So then what that would mean is then you would have to meet up with this client then, right? I'm guessing.
Either that, I prefer to meet up with them if at all possible. However, I have done long distance costumes, and all I ask is that they send me a list of specific measurements, and I can work with that.
Hmm. Hmm. That's really fascinating. Very very. Okay. Well, good. Now have you and has anyone noticed after they get your work?
Mhm.
Has anyone suspected that you are blind after seeing your work?
Literally everyone is always very, very surprised. I either get I get the same reactions. It's either surprise or doubt every single time. It's always, "Oh wow, that's so awesome! I never expected." Or, "You mean you're really blind? Really?" Like it's always one of those two, and it gets very annoying.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the problems or one of the issues that someone else was saying in the blind and visually impaired support group
Hmm.
is that there's been a lot of comments about people just saying a lot of immature things even in that
Oh,
group.
good Lord, yes.
And I told this other person, it happened to be the retired correctional officer who was
Mm-hmm.
telling me about it in our podcast. Which, if you have not been following Aaron's opinion, you should go back and listen to my content if you like, because I cover a lot of material.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but one of the things I said is that you as someone who recently became blind, you have to be aware of the fact, a couple big things,
Mm-hmm.
that there are unfortunately a percentage of blind people who, for many different reasons, cannot work or
Mm-hmm.
refuse to work, and then in the end blame someone else for either one of those reasons. And
Yep.
then there are blind people like us who have college degrees, who work
Yep.
every day of our lives,
Yep.
and then our tax dollars go to support the people who won't work. So there's
That
this
is a
huge,
controversial topic.
and there's this huge rift.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, and I will tell you personally, Cassie, that there are people who I do not speak with, um, uh, simply because of many things. But one of them can be, if I know for a fact, or if I am led to believe that you're someone who simply refuses to work and refuses to contribute to our country. Now, I'm not talking about people who are not able to work for reasons out of their control.
Right. Right.
That's a totally different thing. But I'm talking about the people who just sit at home and their mommy and daddy does the laundry and nobody cares.
Yep.
Nobody
Yep.
really cares. Those people, my sympathy, as I said on that episode weeks ago, and I'll say it again, my sympathy is not with you.
Yep.
My sympathy is with the people like us who every year have to pay taxes to make sure that that other person can sit home. So I think that our generation will really have a big meltdown dealing at some point, dealing with this group of people and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the fact is that simply not enough blind people are employed, and it's starting to become not acceptable anymore. And
Right.
I'm so I mean we only have about 7.5 minutes. Wow, I mean part two really took off there. Um,
It took a couple of weird turns. Yeah.
that was okay. That was great, amazing material. So all right, well,
I
cool.
mean, I'm definitely down for a second meeting in which I guess show the world exactly how a blind
Yeah.
person can
Yeah,
draw.
let's when we do when we do that, let's keep the drawing P. Let's keep the drawing PG-13.
I will definitely take the most PG thing that I
Okay,
can
just
possibly
just to be
think
just
of.
to be just to be respectful of our audience, because
Of course, of
I
course.
no, seriously, I don't want to accidentally scare someone accidentally with people. The other thing is that people who listen to podcasts, some are more sensitive than
I understand.
others. So
I understand.
you have to be a
I
little
do.
bit, you have to be careful about what you show people when you say let me show you. But yeah, I mean I would like to see you show us basically how to use the software. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
actually, you know what? I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to take back the part where I said that we can do screen sharing. I'm fine with it,
Hmm.
but really, the audio quality on these podcasts is so much better without the cameras. I'm going to say
Hmm.
let's not turn on the camera. Let's just make an
Okay.
audio.
Okay.
And what you would do is you would just turn up your speakers,
Yep.
and we would just let voiceover or Jaws or whatever you use.
Hmm.
We would just let your computer walk us through it, and it would be, I think, really informative, um, to the listener, and I think they would appreciate that. I did an episode in the past where another woman showed us how to use um, TalkBack on her Android devices or
Okay.
something
Yeah.
like
I
that.
use TalkBack on my Android as well.
Okay. So what phone do you have?
I don't know. It's some Metro Android phone. I have no idea what it is,
Okay,
but
well there you go. It's a Metroid.
it's just a Metro Android.
It's a
But I do have
okay.
TalkBack on that. On my computer, my computer is an HP Envy, so it comes with Windows, which
Hmm.
means that I use Narrator.
Okay. Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of people are using that, and the also the NVDA is
Hmm.
very
Yep.
popular.
And I'm
I've
totally
always
okay with Narrator. It has its holes. It's got its glitches. Half the time, I click on something because the wrong thing because my mouse is, 2 seconds ahead of where Narrator is. But for the most part, it totally works.
right, right. Well, that's all really cool. Really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on an iMac and I use Apple products.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
so basically, ladies and gentlemen, we have about 4 minutes. We were talking to Cassie Carson, who has a lot of interesting things to say about it turns out now that we did this episode, you have interesting things to say about more than one community, not just blind
Quite a
people.
few. I'm a very experienced person for my
I,
age.
I, I, I think that tonight I'm afraid to say that I think I just touched the tip of the iceberg. I think.
Oh, yeah, you got nothing. You got
Okay.
just barely.
All right. Well, I tell
Yeah.
well, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to require here at Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people. I'm going to require a
Oh
part
no.
two, and we're going to strap ourselves in
Oh
for
no.
some. Yes, you don't know.
You're
No, you.
going to regret this.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
Yeah, and my listeners are gonna love. My listeners are going to love this because you're a great podcaster too. You should have a podcast yourself. Really.
Really? I would be okay with that.
Well, knowing the artwork you do, I think you would be okay with being a podcaster. Podcasting can be pretty tame, but also in podcasting, there's some strange content in the podcasting and YouTube world too. Don't get me wrong, you can get strange on a podcast.
Oh,
This
I don't doubt it.
this was actually I thought that actually. I don't know. You should go back, Cassie, and listen to my episode where I interviewed the retired correctional officer. Actually, his material really concerned me too. His material was concerning too for very different reasons. There's been some I've had some interesting stories on here, and really that's why I love podcasting, Cassie, because I can
Hmm.
I can educate the whole world and have some really fun conversations with blind people who I think as sad as it is. I think you and I've been saying this to other blind people around the group. I think today people just need someone to talk to vent,
Yeah.
to just have that conversation about Reddit. Tell us about what you do.
Hmm.
Freak us out a little bit. But make us curious about part two. And I think that truly is healing for a lot of blind people around the world. And for that, I forever am thankful. And I think
Mhm.
that, and I hope that our listeners are thankful for that.
Of
With the
course.
remaining two minutes before I'm going to end this one, do you have any final statements you want to make on part one tonight?
Honestly, I just hope that if anyone takes anything out of this is that if I, as a totally blind person, can create my own digital art and costume design company, then there's no excuse for a person not to do what they love doing. If I can make it work, so can they. So
Right,
I,
right.
I hate when people call me an inspiration, but in the end, if I'm inspiring, you know what? Run with it.
Well, there you run with it. Well, there you go. There you go. And I guess you can also say, if a blind person can create art for a furry, they must be able to do everything else.
Yep, yep, that's
All
about
right.
right.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's pretty. That's a little concerning, and that's pretty cool overall. Sorry. And by the way, I never judge. Just to be
Oh,
clear,
of course.
simply, it was a very subtle answer that kind of, oh, okay, like
Oh no,
that.
I get it. It's all in good fun.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, exactly,
of course,
exactly.
of
But
course.
I'm so glad that. But the fact that you are doing art for such serious and concerning things shows me that you're a successful artist.
Oh
Actually,
well, I try.
well, you must be successful, or else they wouldn't ask you to do their art. So
That is
that's
true.
evidence. That's evidence that you're successful. Some of the most successful artists in history were some of the most actually did some of the most disturbing art. So the two do go
Also
together.
true.
The two things do go together perfectly.
Well,
Well,
they say
anyway,
art is fueled by trauma, so.
okay, or that, or something, or okay. So whatever you do, listener, try not to Google how blind people wipe.
No,
And you already know, and you don't even need to Google, can blind people be an artist for free? Because we already answered that. Yes, they can. So you don't have to
very
Google
much.
that. All right. So we cleared up all of that. Hopefully they'll be Googling those things less. I suspect that after this
Hmm.
uploads, they'll be Googling it a lot more. Cassie Carson, you did a great job today. An absolutely magnificent episode. I I I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it, and I'm looking forward to part two. Have a good day today.